Welcome to the series of Database Management System. Today, we will see who are the users of Database Management System. The users of the Database Management System are the people who directly or indirectly uses the Database Management System. These are some users of Database Management System: DBA, Database Designer, end or native users, application programmer, casual users, system analyst, and sophisticated users. We'll see each and every user in detail. Number one is Database Administrator. The Database Administrator or DBA is a person or a group of person who is responsible for management of the databases. The DBA is responsible for authorizing access to the database by grant and revoke permission to the users, for coordinating and monitoring its uses, managing backups and repairing the damage due to the hardware and software failure, and for acquiring the hardware software resources as needed. In case of the small organization, the DBA is performed or the title DBA is given to a single person, and if in case of the large organization, there are group of persons who share the common responsibility of DBA. So the granting and revoking and who will use which data is given by the DBA. The DBA is one of the user who use the database management system. Next is Database Designer. Database Designer, these are responsible for identifying the data to be stored in the database and for choosing appropriate data structure to represent and store the data. Whenever the development requirement come for the database management system, it is a responsibility of a database designer to identify which type of data has to be stored in the database, what are the type of relationship it will have. It is a responsibility of a database designer to communicate with the perspective of the database users in order to understand their requirement so that they can create a design that meets their requirement. These are some responsibility of database designer is to determine the purpose of databases, why it is used, what is the purpose behind it. The database designer gather the information that will record in the database. There are multiple flood of the information which is present or given by the stakeholder. So to identify the information which has to be stored in the database is done by the database designer. Database designer takes the data, identify the important data, and then divide these information in a form of tables. Once the tables get decided, then what are the relationship between the tables is also identified by the database designer. So database designer is one of the important users of the database management system who has actually designed the databases. Depend on the stakeholders. Next is application programmer. The application programmer are responsible for writing the application program that uses the databases. As we know that when we consider any software, the software can have a front end and back end. In the back end, we are using the database designer who is designing the databases. But the front end has to be interact with the back end. So the front end is interacting with the back end or with the database by using the application programs. So who are the application programmer? The application programmer are the people who write the actual code to interact with the databases. These programs could be written in general purpose programming language such as Visual Basic, Developer C, Fortran, COBOL, etc. to maintain the databases. The application programs operate on the data to perform the various operations such as retaining the information, creating new information, deleting, changing the existing informations. So this is the responsibility of an application program to write the code which interact with the database management system correctly, and it is like an interface between the interface between the users and the databases. So here this is like application program. Here these are the application programmer who is writing the code for interacting of a smooth databases through these programs. Next is end users. End users deals only with the highest level of abstraction, may not be concerned with the details of database management system. It involves in the update of the database or queries on the database. When we consider end users, our end user does not involve identifying the tables, their relationship. They are not included inside the designing the databases or application program. These are the users who only present at the highest level, like a user level, where they interact with the database by using certain queries or by using or by updating certain databases. These end users can be categorized into the casual end users, naive or parametric users, sophisticated users, and specialized users. Now, next is casual end users. These are persons who are able to access the database occasionally when needed. They need different information each time. They are sophisticated query language to specify their request. Who are the casual users? These are the high-level managers who access data weekly or bi-weekly just to see the performance of the company or employee or the task which is performed to the employee. So at that time, these are the users who write actual query language and run the queries, and they'll get the results. Next is naive or parametric users. They make up the large section of the database. They communicate with the database on the regular periods. Communicate with the system by invoking one of the application programs that have been written previously. The job is to constantly querying and updating the database using the standard queries. This is also called canny transaction. Who are the naive or parametric users? These are bank trailers, reservation clerks, etc. Next is sophisticated users. Sophisticated users interact with the system without writing the programs. Instead, they form their requests in the database query language. Each such query is submitted to the query processor, whose function is to break down the DML statement into the instruction that store the managers understand. Like for example, these are the users who does not write application program, but they know the database, they know the number of tables which are present, so they directly write the query, and these query are get submitted in the database, and they'll get the results. Next is specialized users. Also sophisticated users who write the specialized database application that do not fit into the traditional data processing framework. Writing the specialized application like CAD, multimedia, database programs. So these are the specialized users who write these special programs to interact with the database, which does not fit in the traditional query language, traditional SQL query languages. So these are some users of the database, the users which interact with the database management system. If you, I hope you understand this. If you find any difficulty, you can write in the comment box. Thank you.